Hello, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Beyond the Summit presentation of the StarLadder iLeague 13 European Series between Team Empire and Arcade Esport, formerly known as Power Rangers. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We had a very interesting game one of this series. Bounty Hunter on a mission, on a quest to avenge his father's death by killing off a courier. Ran halfway across the world and halfway back, but he got it done. Unfortunately, this team lost in the process. That brings us to Game 2, where we have Arcade leading 1-0, and looking forward to seeing what they bring to the table, changing things up a little bit, and hopefully garnering a little bit of momentum to push forward and bring us to a deciding Game 3. But here it is, game number 2, the draft underway. Let's switch over to that, and welcome in my wonderful co-caster. I'm Blaze, and I'm joined by Llama Down Under.
I don't know if it's a loss if you avenge your father, but I'm just a big fan of the Princess Bride. Either way, we've got an IO out for Empire, and this is a bread and butter pick for them. So I think they should be in a bit of a better spot this game than lost.
Yeah, I think
IO Tiny.
there you go. Straight up, just getting the classic duo. Now, Arcade know exactly what they're drafting into. They obviously, in the European scene, you have to make a deliberate choice to ban the Wisp in Phase 1 or not. And so they know that's a possibility. They are ready to react. Winter Wyvern, you can turn the Tiny against his ball of fluff there and knock him out with the Winter's Curse. You've got Tusk, who obviously has the ability to AoE stun, to get some good control, some good burst damage against the Wisp, who is naturally very low armor. I think for now, though, they're going to be looking into cores that can dodge out relocate ganks. They've already got some good control, some good AoE, some good response. If you go offlane Tusk, you might go like support Disruptor or something like that, but for the most part, you just want to be able to avoid relocate aggression more than having to constantly respond to it and having every single member there. So Queen of Pain is a pretty prime pick here if it's not banned out by Empire. Anti-Mage, Ember Spirit, there's lots of heroes that can just slip away whenever they see the relocate warning coming along.
Yeah. Also, all good heroes that haven't been banned. We do see a lot of reactionary bans. I mean, this is why the IO's through, but the Dazzle ban, the Slaughter ban, both teams indicating that even though the Dazzle didn't win the game, you know, Empire recognizes that it's strong, and same with the Slaughter. They're just like, no, let's not deal with this on the lineup of Arcade. I keep wanting to call them Power Rangers, but they're taking a really long time on this next ban for Empire, and not quite sure what they're too worried about. Yeah, the Queen of Pain. Just as you said, trying to make sure that they don't have stuff that counters their lineup. Now, Husker doesn't really work here. I just want to see a Husker after the games we've had today, so I'm trying to like figure out if it could be possible. It's not the best against Tiny IO, so
Yeah,
it makes me sad. Doxia, though, still in the pool. Ooh.
Yeah, pretty solid here.
How is he making it through? I feel like Arcade might just decide to pick that up. They can certainly run a support Tusk, always strong, and Doxia are really nice against an IO Tiny. Usually with Max Vacuum, they're in range, but a Windrunner from them.
Yeah,
Another,
I mean, it's probably one of the better heroes to withstand the oppression of the Tiny IO on the mid lane. If you go 1v2 against them, you're able to just always use Windrun whenever you're pressed, so that the tethered slow doesn't really factor in. All you have to do is make sure you're out of avalanche range. If you're out of avalanche range, you're safe and sound. So I think that Wind Ranger is a pretty good hero to deal with it, as well as the fact that because they're on the dire side, Empire really can't pull the mid lane as easily. I mean, there's technically a way to do it if you get the Dark Troll Summoner on the Eastern hard spawn, but more importantly, it's unlikely to be frequently stacked when you're controlling runes, and the lane isn't going to be pulled as significantly. So, all in all, I like the Wind Ranger pick. It might force IO Tiny to go safe lane instead of mid, and we're also going to be seeing an unfamiliar face here, the Shadow Demon. I love this hero, still play him. I've played him every patch, so it doesn't really matter, and he gets all these tiny minor buffs, but I'm curious what they actually have in terms of a game plan for making this hero involved.
I think it's just to react to the Winter's Curse. The Wyvern, and the Wyvern's always a good counter to Tiny IO, right? Because you just Winter's Curse the IO and then Tiny kills his IO. I always try to call them Tyo or IO, because I'm trying to like say Tiny and IO. But anyway, I like it here for a number of reasons, because you can disrupt the person who's in the Winter's Coast. You can disrupt the person attacking the Winter's Coast unit. Usually better, I think, to disrupt the Winter's Coast unit, because then the person who's meant to be attacking it still has the 70% damage reduction debuff. You can also disrupt if someone shackle shotted, etc., etc. Like, there are a lot of nice things, and it can, of course, set up those kills. They might just run a tri-lane. Normally we see IO Tiny mid, but with a Shadow Demon, you can certainly set up Avalanche Toss combos really easily. So they got a lot of options, I think, and I agree with you. I really like this, and I feel like Shadow Demon, a great pick here.
Yeah. Another thing is that it dissuades Arcade from going Anti-Mage here. I think Anti-Mage is actually a pretty strong pick, but obviously has the weak point of being up against the Shadow Demon in this case. The Disruption creates illusions that burn his own mana. The Demonic Purge are just generally a problem for him. But they go with the Gyrocopter, and while Demonic Purge is decent against Gyrocopter, it definitely doesn't nullify his presence in the fights, and the Wind Ranger doesn't care at all. Like, you can Demonic Purge her all you want, but she's still going to get all of her damage out. She's probably going to be mobile enough to evade strikes with her Wind Run. And yeah, it's just, overall, I feel like they have to do something special with this. There's a way to stack 2 to 3 camps at once with Shadow Poison. Not sure if that's a priority, but
What patch is this?
Yep. That is a question. I like Centaur Warrunner as an offlaner against Lich. I've been seeing that quite a bit recently, but actually running it here when you already have number of sources of hard lockdown, the Shackle Shot, the Winter's Curse, perhaps the Tusk, I feel like the Stampede does have a little bit less value. There's of course some potential synergy with the Tiny. Tossing in the Centaur early on gets you the Hoof Stomp, which gets you the Avalanche, but I don't think there's such a thing as a Wisp Tiny Centaur tri-lane, so maybe dual lanes or something.
I've seen him used as well, the Centaur, in there's a South American team who did a really innovative draft. They're called Kawaii a while back, and they won a tournament off the back of this. They used the Centaur to help their heroes escape when they were split pushing. Now, you don't need that as much when you've got to relocate in a Tiny already, but it's certainly something where if they're maybe having some trouble against Gyrocopter's cooldown or Tusk is initiating on someone, you can just run them away. And I think when the Slaughter's banned out, it is a good AoE stun. I just don't know how well he'll do in laning without an easy escape. And finally, the Darkseer comes out. I expected Empire to ban him, but they were worried more about the Nature's Prophet.
And I'm also really sad to see the Batrider banned. I was hoping Empire would 5th pick that. You combine Stampede with Lasso, and you just straight up kill somebody. Like, they get pulled so far out of position, so far away from their allies, there's no hope for them. And I love that combo, even though it does take 2 ultimates. It is a very strong combo for picking somebody off. That being said, now we're seeing the Batrider banned out. Empire thinking about what they need to do, because now they're up against a Darkseer, Tusk, probably dual lane, and then the Gyrocopter, Winter Wyvern safe lane, as well as the Ranger mid. All these lanes are hard to contest. Every single one of them has a new form of destruction. I mean, the Darkseer double Ion Shell, snowball on top of somebody, that's a kill. Wind Ranger naturally is just a great hero that's very hard to bring down, and obviously she has her own potential presence if she lands a good shackle. Gyrocopter and Wyvern, they have a lot of magical damage. The Arctic Burn combined with the Rocket Barrage, and even though somebody as tanky as a Centaur doesn't feel safe, I really feel like Arcade's lanes are really strong, and Team Empire have to find some amazing way to make these heroes work together in order to beat that.
Now, this is the group stages, and Empire and Arcade both have 1 loss already in these group stages, so win here is really important, but everybody in this group has 1 loss to Alliance. So it's something where even if... I mean, yeah, never mind. Both teams need this win, or I think they're out, unless you can have the, 1-2-2. I'm not sure, I have to think for a second. But yeah, this is really important, and Empire might put themselves out of Star Ladder. I was going to say maybe they're just experimenting, depending on their position in the group.
Okay, this makes more sense. It looks like it's a safe lane Centaur carry. He's going to go for a Blink Rush in the safe lane. Clockwork will be played on the off lane. Silent will be running on the Centaur. I like this.
I am interested. You had my curiosity, but now no. I'm not sure this. I've seen it before. I don't know how well it's gonna work here. We will see. He's gonna be up against Darkseer Tusk potentially. That's not a fun lane for anyone. Although they might end up dodging it. Darkseer. Never mind. Darkseer Tusk, I don't know whether the Darkseer would prefer to be against Clock or prefer to be against a Centaur. I think he's kind of okay with either.
Yeah, I think the Gyro would not like to be against the Centaur, though, that's for sure. Tron does not want to be anywhere near that mess, because you get disrupted, you will get hit by the Hoof Stomp. Soul Catcher plus Double Edge just sounds so painful to me. So yeah, I would dodge that any opportunity I could on a hero like Gyro. But that being said, I think the Darkster is going to be pretty happy to contest it, and most likely the Tusk will aid him in that endeavor. We're going to be seeing some early movement here. TP play. It looks like Flo down bottom is trying to be sneaky about his warding, but we already see that RK beat him to the punch. J4 has his Observer ward in place and knows exactly what the Clockwork's up to.
Yeah, we've got early wards placed, both Arcade's wards super early, which is really nice to have out, and IO already doing IO things. When we look at these lineups as they progress later into the game, it's something really interesting where we've seen IO and Tiny win games, where they're like 15,000 gold behind. But certainly if Windrunner gets good shackles, she's just very able to take over, I think, the game for a point of it. And especially against an IO Tiny, if you shackle them together, which is totally doable, unfortunately, just because of how the two heroes work, especially if Windrunner gets a blink, this game could go south very quickly for Empire, just like the Lost.
Top boundary rune going to be under contest here. Ice Shards could be a big factor if they could just block them off, but they put 2 inside, and that isolates them away. Arctic Burn hits on 2 heroes, maybe 3, and there's going to be a Hoof Stomp that gets the bounty rune to Tiny, but at the cost of his life. First blood will be spilled by Cheshire Cat. Silent will slip himself away, but getting the 1-for-1 on the runes, losing the first blood, it's not pretty.
Yeah,
Actually,
not a good team
wait,
fight.
did they get both? Yeah, they got both. Tiny and Clockwork acquired bounty runes, so it's not all bad.
Yeah, it's not the best because of course Tiny doesn't want to go down there, but as you mentioned, they got both bounty runes, so it's almost evened out. And it's something where Clockwork, of course, is going to be happy to have been nowhere involved. Now, Barash's lane here, do you think he can still get some last hits against this IO Tiny combo in lane? Or is it just going to be all sad days for the Windrunner?
Well, unfortunately, he did skill Shackle Shot for that opportunity that he found there on top runes, so that's a little bit frustrating. But all in all, it still, I think, comes down to, now that he has Wind Run level 1, it just stay out of range of Tiny's Avalanche. If you stay out of range of Tiny's Avalanche, the toss play shouldn't work against you. The Resolution already testing that out. Toss back all the way to the range creep, and while he will be evading some strikes, he will receive the Tether Slow, and Barrage will be taking some hits here. I don't know if he goes down. It's a very squishy hero, but the Healing Salve under the tower and the Shackle Shot ×2. But still, it is the fall, and yeah, that's the catalyst. Just Avalanche range, and that's going to work out.
The timing was so perfect on that. So Io was stacking up, Aloha Dance was stacking up the jungle, and just because of when Tiny tossed, Aloha Dance could come back in time to make the slow happen on the tether. Just beautiful play from Empire, and maybe this will be the Empire that strikes back, but either way, up top lane, we do have the Darkseer Tusk lane, and Silent, have fun. I don't know how he's going to get any last hits up here.
Well, he's tanky. He's got a Mango, he's got his Stout Shield, he's got his Return, but yeah, it's quite difficult. He's only got 60 attack damage. Shadow Demon's not great on attack damage either, only 55. So really, he really wants to find kills. Like actually, CS is going to be quite limited under tower, etc. He still found 7 and 0 because this is Silent. This guy is a farming master. But at the same time, I think kill opportunities is more what they want, and that would require a Shadow Demon flanking to a very vulnerable position.
Yeah, also early levels, they don't have as much trouble dealing with the Ion Shell and so on, but I imagine as this progresses,
Sure. Also
Silent already picked up a point in return, so I imagine now going to start maxing out Double Edge, but he's got options if he wants to. Now Tron also uncontested farm down bottom, and you already mentioned a little bit kind of being a centaur into a gyrocopter, not the nicest unless you get quite a bit of farm. And speaking of it, No Fear is actually the target of their aggression. He should be able to set up some sort of, oh, he doesn't get the disruption off and the ice shards come out instead. But Silent's just going for this. I'm not quite sure what he's doing here. He's burning down a lot.
Yeah, just taking a lot of hits here. They don't have any kill potential, so they'll let him go, because otherwise you're just forcing a healing salve and using a lot of your mana. They want to hold on to that snowball and make sure that they have the mana for killing the Shadow Demon, who's just a much easier target. Tusk level 3 has quite a bit of burst damage, and obviously the level 2 Ion Shell is enough to burn Shadow Demon down that quickly. So he wanted the aggression, he wanted to be involved in the pull that was happening. There's actually going to be a TP response here. They're going to snowball there instead. The Shackle Shot is perfect, and they're going to go and combo it up with the Ice Shards. Io had overcharge, but he didn't have any bottle charges, and that will be the death of the Tiny. A great rotation from Bignum.
Yeah, so unfortunately not quite able to save his Tiny's life, and they get the return kill on the mid. So Really nice there. I wonder about, so Flo's level 3, Doxia's level 4. Yeah, Clockwork's having a really rough time, especially when you consider that both heroes on the top lane for Arcade are level 4. That just means that Clock is getting really forced out of lane.
Yeah, having a pretty hard time of it, and Wyvern's been getting some really good pulls on. So that's going to be the Wyvern actually equal experience, almost identical to that Wyvern. We do see the Avalanche connecting. Spirits are going to be doing quite a bit of damage here to Barrage. The toss-up will be the kill, and the response is a little bit belated, but it will be enough to bring down Tiny. Even with this overcharge bottle, they will kill off the big Mountain Giant, and even Aloha Dance under some huge pressure. The Ice Shards does block him off, and the Splinter Blast will bring him down. So once again, great move from Big Gnome, and this time J4 joining the party.
Yeah, the rotations by Arcade have really been on point. I don't know whether they're just reading Empire really well, or it's just a case of, I mean, Empire did dive pretty hard there, but either way, they're getting everything they want, and still Centaur, he's getting some farm, but not as much as the Doxia or the Gyrocopter, so Silent's got a lot of work ahead of him. How do you itemize a carry Centaur? I know a long time ago there was like a Manta Centaur build, but I feel like this one is more, you still need the Blink, maybe a Blade Mail.
Blade Mail's interesting. I don't think that anybody really has an incentive to attack somebody with so much raw HP anyways, so I would say...
But if you can force the Gyro to, since he's a Gyro, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of damage that cannot be controlled, so that's true, but all in all, I still think it's just like go for like Blink Ags, essentially. You can go for a Cloak to mitigate some double edge, but that's really all you need. Oh, got a snowball and bring Cheshire Cat in. That's such a smart snowball, but the movement speed of Silent is just enough that they're actually having to now fully disengage. Nice Splinter Blast on multiple heroes, but there's that toss, hoof stomp we were talking about. So Cheshire Cat body blocked up, Avalanche, and double edge brings them down. A really good rotation from the Wisp, allowing Silent to pull them in and for Empire to knock them out.
Yeah, and a pretty big rotation, really good on both the Wisp and the Tiny too. The Wisp just walked the Tiny, of course, TPing in, so really nice for them. And also this space kind of helping Clockwork in bottom a little bit just because his team's busy getting kills. They rotated the Wyvern to go stack. Clockwork getting a little bit more farm. Or levels, which is more important for him. His early 6 rotation, he's one of the few who you can catch the Windrunner, and it's actually a pain for her, since if you get the Cogs off and the Battery Assault, she can Windrun all she wants. It doesn't help.
Yeah, that's very true. I'm curious if the Gyrocopter actually goes for a Manta style, maybe not first item, but second one. There's one, when Centaur was actually really prevalent in the scene, very common counter item to him would be the Manta style. What you would do is just use it right in the middle of the hoof stomp animation, and it would actually just net you an easy kill. Some smoke jungling here from Tusk and Darkseer, clearing out the stacks that Io and Tiny were looking for. But yeah, it was
huge.
It was actually very consistent. The invulnerability frame dodge with Manta versus Hoof Stomp, you would see like 2/3 of the time practice players would be able to counter it out just with that item alone. Along with the stack Jack, they're able to also acquire a Shadow Demon pickoff. So he was just looking to stack the creeps one more time.
It's actually pretty big that they got the creep camps there, I feel, because the Io, he's off stacking and everything. You really want level 6, and this Io's making good progress, actually. If they get this kill, Io's going to be making great progress. If you can get level 6 before 10 minutes in, you're pretty happy as an Io, and one of the ways you do that is you spend so much time stacking that you're expected to leech some experience while Tiny does those stacks, and losing a full stack puts you a bit further behind. Now, this Io, Aloha Dance, has been having a great old time. He's actually got a bunch of kill involvement, so he's got higher levels than most. But it's still really bad to lose the stack. Your opponents get rich, you lose out on gold, everything sucks.
And they didn't even get a chunk of that experience, really. That was already gone before they got anywhere nearby. J4 is right on top of Flo here. They're going to get Tron involved as well, but he'll just TP right to his tier 1 tower. Is that intentional? Right back into the call down, and down he goes.
It could have been intentional so that he could just get out of danger, but he probably meant to TP on the back line, so didn't realize, as you said, he was like right in there. But we got a snowball up top. Looks like there's going to be a Walrus Punch to follow, and he walks right through the wall, Centaur. No way you wanted to go.
Yeah, I mean, is there anywhere he could have gone, though? Like, that was such a really good execution, too.
Yeah, there wasn't much hope. Kind of questionable then arguably to pop the ult there, but again, it's not the longest of cooldowns, so it's kind of like, yeah.
He hoped he could get out, but Darkseer's wall just was the trump card there.
So, really nice play coming out from Arcade. Again, I feel like they're doing a good job of working themselves towards an early lead. Not as dominant as last game, but they're certainly doing a great job.
Never underestimate the Wisp Tiny, though. That relocate, like you said, is coming along. He's already got his urn and Bottle. Just needs the magic wand, and he'll be pretty much good to go with his core item set. Yeah, and at that point, the Centaur working his way to Blink Dagger. He's got 1150 banked up, and he's definitely going to be rushing that one out. But trying to prevent that, maybe Cheshire Cat and Big Numb look for an opportunity. It looks like they feel like they're the ones being aggressed upon. They're just going to back off so they don't get baited.
I also wonder here whether, I mean, Empire hasn't used any smokes. They've got 3 in stock. There are 2 in stock for Arcade. It feels like Arcade used the earlier smoke to get the creeps in the jungle. It feels like smokes could really help turn around this game. I mean, it's one thing, the first relocate of the game is always a big deal, but maybe some smokes, even if they're just to get up vision, so you can make sure those relocates are safe, because that's another problem. It's really hard to relocate without vision, because you might relocate into enemies. If you smoke and get the vision, you're going to be doing okay, and IO has hit the level 6 as they kill off another stack. So they've got some options here, I feel, on Empire. Definitely not in the deficit they were last game.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. We'll see. They were kind of waiting for the Stampede to come back up, but now that they have that, they can definitely go for those plays and lock down a target. Clockwork, Hookshot, Cogs is a natural and a very common way to set up a relocate, just because you're at least initiating on one hero there. They can't get out of those Cogs, and the Iotanis there to back it up. But the Stampede, Jump, and Slow is going to be another way to accomplish that. But what a lot of teams do is they do it blind, and they don't have aggressive vision. What we're actually going to be seeing is exactly what you were mentioning. It's going to be Smoke and Invis, but it is going to be a deep Observer Ward that cannot be scouted thanks to the Smoke of Deceit, and that's actually exactly what they need to do.
Oh, but no fear.
He's Invis.
Okay, yeah, he has the Invis as well. Sorry, for a second I was like, what are you doing? And then I remembered he had an Invis. I was like really concerned there. But yeah, he's just doing some casual scouting. He doesn't decide. I don't know whether he's going to place it back over this side. I mean, obviously he has to be careful because the heroes were around, but I do agree with you. That's a really good spot to have it. But he might just be like, nope, there's too many people. It's dangerous. Oh, he's thinking about it. He's gonna he's gonna break their smoke. Oh no, he doesn't.
Gets the ward, and the smoke remains. That's good and bad. He means the ward will stay, and they won't be like, oh, who was hiding underneath that bush there? But at the same time, we are going to be seeing that this rotation should be a bit of a surprise to the Centaur, who's getting ever closer to Blink Dagger, and really should be heading home right now. But the Tranquil Boots, he's like, yeah, I can go for another creep wave. I'm going to be full HP, and full HP will be insufficient with the hero smoke behind.
Yeah, and we will see what else is coming out. They're at about a 3,000.
Relocate maybe on Barrage? I think they want it, but no, Barrage is going to win run away.
Meantime, Tron gets top tower, yeah, and they're able to secure that lickety-split. Sorry, I'm trying to adjust something on the mic. Apparently, people can hear the other keyboard in the room, but I didn't know it was coming through. Folks, if there's still issues, please let us know. Either way, getting back into it, Tiny. He's got drums. It's a very common pickup. It's great stats, helps the hero out a lot. Probably working on Aghanims next, you'd say, or do you think this is a Blink Tiny game?
I don't think they need Blink. They have a Clockwork and a Blink Centaur. They're going to be fine on the Blink and the Quick Initiation. We're going to see Relocate here onto the Wyvern, and it will be a quick pick before he can cast the Winter's Curse. Really good Resolution. Just to, literally all he does is cast Avalanche on the spot before they're even in that vicinity, before the Relocate even completes, and as soon as he's in range, the Avalanche comes out. So while Wyvern has to target the unit, all Tiny has to do is target the ground. Technically, you can actually counter that by, if you look at the Tiny emit, if like the creep wave sees Tiny, you can technically tell Wyvern to do the exact same thing to the Tiny before he relocates, but it's so difficult to do that in just 2.5 seconds.
100%, and it's, as you said, it's all about quick fingers, and sometimes it comes from the jungle, and you can't do it, whereas Tiny knows where he's relocating. All of those advantages for the Tiny IO combo, so we're seeing them working their way out of this deficit, and I like it. Now, Flo, do you go for the Clockwork, since there is something like the Gyro? Are you Blade Mail Clock, or again, Forced Off, which we've been seeing dominate the day?
Huh, yeah, that's actually a close decision. Like, compared to the Centaur, I think Clockwork's going to get a lot more value out of the Blade Mail. He's always going to be caught in that little arena, and somebody's going to want to fight out against him. A Wind Ranger, very commonly, just tries to focus fire down to Clockwork when she gets caught inside Cogs, and I could imagine Gyro doing something similar. So I think Clockwork actually could benefit a lot from the Blade Mail, but end of the day, if he wants to go Force Staff, I think that creates a lot of value too.
Yeah, and I think that
is under attack.
I know, I just like the options and the fact that Empire is doing a great job of just slowing down this game. At the same time, Arcade, they are smoked up again, looking for something. Or is it just the Wyvern? No, they have some other people
Dire's
smoked up.
bottom tower is under
Because they
attack.
definitely have people attacking the tower who are not. And I don't think they're catching anyone here. They're hoping that somebody comes out, you know, the very common, the smoke, the poison scouting. So just gonna have to give up a tier 1. They still have a couple left, so I wouldn't be as worried.
Yep, just kind of, for right now, what they want is the Clockwork to go and the Relocate to come through, and then the Wyvern to come from the tree line and get that Winter's Curse out. But they're not taking that bait. They'll let a tier 1 fall if they have to, because they know that
Dire's
Arcade is
bottom
moving as
tower
5,
is under
essentially.
attack.
Looks like Barash is going to come back to the mid lane to defend that. But just all in all, good game sense for both teams, knowing what they want to accomplish, but Empire wins out on the mind games in the end. I still like this ward they're leaving. It's outside the sentry range of the normal ward if you put one up there, but we're actually going to catch No Fear here, hanging out with the Winter Wyvern. That's actually going to be a really interesting ultimate, which won't be saving the Winter Wyvern, but it will be killing the Shadow Demon in the process.
Radiant's top tower
He
is
committed
under
suicide there, the Shadow Demon.
Is that
How?
what it said? Yeah.
Yeah, look at the chat log. Which
So
exact
that means his
interaction
illusion
is
killed
that?
him. Literally the Shadow Demon
Ooh.
illusion, or the Winter Wyvern illusions, killed
Yeah.
the Shadow Demon when the Winter's Curse was in effect.
Nice.
Very
Okay.
interesting mechanic.
I haven't seen that one before. I can honestly say I haven't seen the Shadow Demon commit suicide before, but that is unfortunate. And yeah, that is one of the bugs. I mean, I don't know if it's meant to count as suicide. It shouldn't count as
It
suicide.
should
but
count as Wyvern's kill, but
yeah. It happens the same thing with Rubik as well, where like Winter's Curse with Rubik, bunch of broken interactions, Winter's Curse in general. So fun to see that one. Wyvern probably a bit upset, but it's Dota.
yep. In the end, I wouldn't say it's like the make or break thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like half a cloak maybe for J4, but nothing crazy.
Yeah. So either way, we've got a blink up on the center and also a nice little ring of health. You think this is a Vanguard game? I wasn't expecting something like the Crimson God, but it's certainly good against the illusions potential coming
Crimson
out.
is actually
of-
amazing against both Gyrocopter
Yeah.
and Wind Ranger. They both hit a lot of small instances of attacks. Like the Gyrocopter, he doesn't have early on. He doesn't have a lot of attack damage, but he spreads it 5 times over when he's hitting all 5 heroes. So getting the Crimson Guard, blocking all that damage. Oh, could be a good initiation. They're going to go for the Stampede. Tron is fast, but is he fast enough to see the Relocate coming through? The Wyvern is just kind of ignored completely as they all go for the Gyrocopter and nearly lose their lives. In fact, the Centaur will fall, and now Shadow Demon is going to be going down without disruption. Now we got 2 seconds on the Relocate. He'll bring back Tiny, but that leaves Flo in the dust, and the Shackle is perfectly lined up to bring him down as well. One more hit from the Splinter Blast, and that's a 3-for-1 with Empire doing the initiating. I think the Gyrocopter just did a marvelous job of dragging that one out.
Yeah, really well done. Got a mass amount of damage. Good cooldown. I was gonna say, I also think the Crimson God, as you said, there's the Gyrocopter Flat Cannon, there's Windrunner, of course, with Focus Fire, and then there are potentially the Illusions coming out
Sure,
from
sure.
Doxia,
Those are
all
good
of
too.
which are like, yeah, Crimson God could be good. But I don't know if it's like
Radiant's
first
top
item
tower is
material.
under attack.
I don't know if maybe Centaur wants a little bit of something in between, but his options are weird this game because
I mean,
I guess you...
Dire's bottom tower
Crimson Guard has
is
an
under
amazing
attack.
build-up. Like, you're building a Vanguard. Like, that's an item that you're like, I don't have to invest too much to buy that. Ring of Health, Vit Booster, Stout Shield. I mean, he's like 600 gold away from the Vanguard, which is the main build-up into the Crimson Guard. I feel like that's a perfectly fine first item. In fact, the earlier the better.
Yeah, and I also think that it's better than, I mean, the other potential items I can see here is you can go kind of like the utility centaur with a force staff or something as well, which isn't bad here. You have to get over ice shards, and there's a couple other things where it would be nice to have the force staff just to get in and get out, but I certainly would prefer a tankier item against something like the Gyrocopter and the Windrunner, but such is the dotes. We've got Barrage halfway to his Aghanim Scepter, gonna get a decent timing on that. And it looks like we're sacking the Wyvern this game over the Tusk, which makes sense. Although I was expecting Tusk. Never mind. What I was about to say is dumb. Tusk is going towards the Glimmer Cape. I'm just gonna say that.
Maybe. Shadowblade would be decent too.
Yeah. He is support though, so I don't know. Often the support Tusks go the Glimmer, and then like the
You're right.
off-lane Tusks go Shadow. But both are great, and you can kind of do very similar things with both. It really hurts your opponent's economy either way.
There's a couple of things that I really like about the Shadowblade here. One main thing is the ability to assassinate the Wisp really quickly. You get a burst damage to the Wisp, you kill him before the Tiny can react, and that Tiny is half as powerful as before, easily. So taking that with a heal and the overcharge out of the equation is a really big deal, and it probably is their prime objective. This kind of comes down more to the late game, like really late game. But if Big Gnome can then transition that Shadow Blade into a Silver Edge and break the craggy exterior, that not only takes some armor away, but it means that the heroes don't have to be BKB to hit him in melee range.
Now we've got Silent popping his ult, but no, you can't run
Oh,
there.
that sucks. It looks like he's getting some distance, but it's not actually taking him anywhere. He's like running on a treadmill.
That was really upsetting. I also agreed with him there. Like, if you look there, you wouldn't think that was blocked, but he was blocked. So Silent goes down.
So trees are cut down. That's what makes it so deceptive.
So really unfortunate for Silent, and he again doesn't get to use that ult, I think, in the fashion that he wants to. But gonna just have to go for it now. Shadow Demon, you said you love playing this hero. He's not getting much farm, but let's say that he does. What do you go? I mean, I know Ags is decent, but it's not really a first item on the Shadow Demon. You already got an urn up on Io. Are you just building another Glimmer Cape for your team as well?
Yeah, I mean, this hero's a lot more invested in his skills than it is in his items. Like, yeah, Ags is great, all the good utility items, Vlad's, and Force Staff, and Blink, and Ghost Scepter is probably pretty common. Like, you're very frequently up against, like, some core that can just destroy you with physical damage, so you get a Ghost to respond to that. But I mean, honestly, he could just keep on warding all game long, sit on Tranquil Boots on Wand, and he'd still be extremely useful just for his skills alone.
It's always nice to have a hero like that, but unfortunately, as a 5 position support, maybe you're not into that type of life. This movement reeks of them going for a smoke, and they have one on the Wyvern, but I guess wanting to finish off the farm, and the rocket is not quite in range, so there goes the smoke. Now, neither lineup has a super easy early Roshan. I guess Tiny can always be involved, but they still need a bit of damage, it feels like, on both.
Silent blink the creeps. You don't blink in, you blink out, and in this case, that does cost him his life. Windranger unveiling the Aghanim Scepter, and No Fear getting caught out as well, despite the disruption to delay it.
Yeah, a nice disruption. I think the missile didn't actually hit him there. Hard to see, but really a rough play. And again, Empire, they're starting to pull behind these pickups from Arcade, doing good work. They had a number of really great relocates. They had like 3 or 4 of them, which worked out well, but since then, Aloha Dance and Resolution not doing enough work.
And they're not pushing the top tier 2, interestingly enough. Like, do they not know Roshan is going on? No, they have no vision technically, but they have to suspect that after a 2-man pickoff like that, a hero like Windranger is going to want to go for the pit. And so yeah, they're not pushing on the tier 2. Which is usually really fast with the Aghanims, and only now they get the Rocket Flare out, and obviously they haven't been making the most of that time. Silent looking for the snatch, but he's got it out by the snowball, goes for the stampede, and he's punched up in the air. There's a hook shot in, there's a relocate, and massive AoE damage in the pit. Clockwork will snatch the Aegis, while the Radiant will claim Roshan's life, and up on the cliff somehow is Mirage, who gets nuked down in the end. J4 goes down, and the relocate sends Tiny Wisp back to actually start hitting that tower, as mentioned before. How did Windranger get up there?
That's our third snatch? That's our third snatch of the day, right?
Yep. And
yeah.
Is it just ice shards that knock Windranger up there? I don't even know. Like, it's just...
Oh, I think... Yeah, it might have been the ice shards. There might have been some weird... I have no idea how she... or the cogs
yeah, cog knockback.
Probably Flo. Flo played beautifully there, by the way. Flo,
yeah, that was insane.
Silent went in a bit too early. It's really hard though, like they thought it was going to fall faster just because they overestimated Windrunner's damage. And then Flo was like, okay Silent, you made a mess of it, I got this. I've got it. And yeah, snatches the Aegis. Another one of those, and just really winning them the team fight. They also forced... Somebody bought back, I thought, so I'll check that out.
Yeah, the Darkseer did not much avail though.
Yeah, and that's really rough there, so a really good job from Empire, and showing they're still kicking.
Absolutely. AC about to come out on the Tiny. Glimmer Cape's up for the Wisp. And that's pretty much all you can ask for. Centaur Warrunner. Ring of Regen would imply to me the Force Staff. There is the option of the pipe, but I don't like it. The Crimson Guard doesn't have that component.
I thought it had a headdress in it. I can't click on it right now because like all the items coming out. Anyway, Darkseer has picked up a gem. And I like this. I like early gems. It helps you dominate. Oh, it's the buckler. I'm an idiot. Yeah, I thought for some reason it was the headdress. That's what happens when you don't pick Crimson Guard up in your games a bunch. So.
Best item in the game. Come on, get with it.
No, I don't know what I like buying instead. But yeah, it's as you said, it's a bit situational.
Yeah,
and it depends. So, Vanguard, I I would have liked to see him finished up, but I can understand how, given how the game's going, he's maybe like, I need to get in, get out, because I'm dying too much.
Yep.
So, could be rough there. Now, we've got a Glimmer Cape up on the dock.
That's an odd position for Silent to be in. He literally just walked past the Tusk, Fog of War, blocking it all, and then walks right into the Wyvern, blinks away. No harm, no foul.
And then Windward just hastes by him as well. It was a weird series of events. Tusk did end up going the Shadow Blade you talked about, and as you mentioned, I do agree with you. It's probably just in hopes of assassinating the Io. And even in places like this, right, you can maybe get the jump on Io, and you'd be at an advantage, but not able to make it work. And this Empire took the moment of having a slight advantage there to place some really deep boards. So they're going to see if there's a smoke coming out here.
Yep, nice little Dire Observer. Going to be scouting out movement, but we do have that gem in play like you're talking about, and Darkseer will at least claim one early on. Io Tiny still looking for their next objective. They pushed out the top lane really hard. That's obviously really important, but I think this bottom lane is actually a really big deal as well. Top lane's technically more important because it's further away from Roshan, and so it's a lot easier to kind of base trade for that objective if you have your distance, but you want your side lanes pushed out in general so that you can take towers or take any objective as it becomes available.
Yeah, and since they have the Roshan on the lineup of Empire, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, yes, it's on the clockwork, maybe not the exact hero you wanted on, but I guess Tiny is just looking for another item, I'm guessing, is why, because he's got a lot of gold, and it might be that he's saying, hey guys, let's wait on my BKB or something, because I was a little surprised they don't take the rest of these outer tier 2 towers with the Aegis.
No. Wisp did just pick up a pretty big item here. The Ghost Scepter is actually immense, versus the Ags Wind Ranger, of course. Also against the Wyvern ultimates. Like, if you can Ghost Scepter right before Wyvern ultis you, then Tiny won't be attacking you, which you'll still be disabled, but you're not dying outright, which is nice. You can also combo it up with the Glimmer Cape. You can Glimmer Ghost, and you're very hard to kill. Like, you take amp damage from the Ghost Scepter, but then you reduce that by half with the Glimmer Cape, so it works out.
Definitely, and it's really nice, but they're going to have the wraparound play. Is it going to be broken? Oh, we've got Tron, he's coming in. They're all scattered with the rocket. They have to know that there are so many there. And we have the hookshot in at the same time as Tiny is trying to work on Tron, but that's a BKB, and now Flo. He is in the middle of no man's land. He does have that Aegis. Maybe they'll just burn that. It's going to be really close, though. He's going to go down, and that's a good time to burn it. At the same time, we have business on the backlands. Resolution's just hitting creeps. Are they actually going to ignore Flo and just let him go down? VP has helped him out, but then Tiny has pulled up Big Numb, and that was a nice one discussed with the wall. It's not doing enough work. Are they going to get some secondary kills? Centaur has managed to kill off J4 and Tron. He has no BKB. They just need Avalanche to come back off of cooldown, and they can easily get this kill. And with Centaur being there, they've got it.
Silent, a madman with the patience. Like, he waited so long for the opportunity, and then he got a 4-man hoof stomp. And then Tiny walks over and just starts walloping. The Tusk just bobbed back. He got dusted out, and that's what Tiny was playing around on the backside. But yeah, in the end, they do kill off Big Numb, and then come back to kill 2 others with Winter's Curse now on cooldown. So look how fast this Rax drops. But they're going to start focusing heroes and get Big Numb down quick. There is a vacuum, but there's no wall, and Chestercat just can't do anything to keep this base safe. In fact, he himself is in some real danger, and that's going to be another kill. Rax going down, and that's going to be the game. Empire strike back, and they bring us to game 3.
Yeah, really nicely played. It was very close for a little bit there. Actually, if we look at the net worth graph, oh, it just died. It shoots down at the very end there, so it's really good.
Yeah,
so
just really smoothly played. They executed well, honestly. Like, this isn't a draft win, I wouldn't say. I think they had some good potential with this draft, but by no means did the hero picks themselves do the heavy lifting. Empire themselves executing on a whole nother level, and Arcade just not ready for it.
Yeah, and it was also just there were a couple of team fights they won. That Roshan Pit team fight, if that had gone the way of Arcade, I don't think Empire would have been in 5 minutes later dominating the game.
And you couldn't dream to map that kind of a team fight out in the rush pit. Like, there is so much going on from every angle. The Observer Ward, setting up the snowball for the Centaur who wanted to jump in, and then the way the ice shards on the cogs are just knocking everybody around. It got crazy. But when the dust settled, the fact that the Aegis wasn't in the hands of Arcade meant that they didn't have the respawn in the fight, which meant that obviously Empire were able to close that one out and then spread the map as they do with the Tiny Wisp. So I still like some of the things Arcade did, like stealing the stacks was really important, and they had a decent set of heroes to respond with. They just didn't get them online in the way they needed to while Empire were just taking fight after fight. So really well done by them. Excited to see what they bring to game number 3 here in this best of 3 series between none other than Empire and Arcade. So that's going to be game 2 in the books. Game 3 coming up in just a few minutes. Thanks for tuning in. If you guys enjoyed the commentary, feel free to look us up on our respective Twitters. I'm over at BlazeCasting, and she's over at Llama Down Under. It's been a pleasure broadcast for you guys on behalf of BTS, and we'll see you guys in just a few minutes for game number 3.